Hi, and welcome to Say Grace, Food for Thought and Hospitality. I'm Steve Palmer, and I invite you to join me as we explore the stories behind leaders in the hospitality industry and beyond. Say Grace is a place to reflect, connect, and savor thoughtful narratives. Everyone has a seat at our table. So pull up a chair and let's discover the transformative power of hospitality together. Hi, I'm Steve Palmer, and I'm very excited to welcome Lawrence Weeks to Say Grace today. Born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky, Lawrence is the owner-executive chef of both North of Bourbon and Ensō, where he was named a James Beard Foundation Award semifinalist for Emerging Chef in 2024 for his work at both concepts. A child of military life, Lawrence was familiar with moving around and lived in Louisiana, California, and Kentucky, and spent most of his summers visiting his grandmother in Houston, Texas. After attending culinary school, his professional career began in 2014 when he worked in Atlanta under James Beard-recognized chef Todd Richards, who encouraged him to find his cultural roots in food. Following his time in Atlanta, Lawrence returned to his home state of Kentucky, where he started Locals Only in Louisville, a pop-up focused on local people, products, and food, before opening North Bourbon and Ensō. Today, he draws inspiration from his family in Louisiana and Texas, as well as from his time in Kentucky for unapologetically Southern menu at North Bourbon, and brings his Southern inspiration to his menu at Ensō, a Japanese concept. Lawrence, welcome to Say Grace.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So we're just coming off the festival, a little tired,
Yeah.
a bazillion events. We have, as one of the home teams, we have historically done like 19 events a year. I think we did 14 this year, which was nice. But I appreciate you being here. I know you're heading home after this. So that's quite a background. What first inspired you to be a chef?
I would say my home life. When we would go down to Houston, Texas, my grandmother would always have a big meal for us. My mother is an amazing host. So growing up, we would always have get-togethers at the house. She's very detail-oriented, so for Thanksgiving, there was always decorations on the dining table. For Easter, there was always different decorations, so she was always decorating for the occasion that was to come.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And was there a particular food that she served at that time?
My mother just made some good Southern cuisine, like smothered pork chops, baked chicken over rice,
Right.
okra and tomato. And at the time, I didn't really see it as something that was very interesting because I just had it all the time, and I wanted to have pizza and Italian food,
Right.
what other people were eating.
Right.
Till I got older and realized how special that food was.
Isn't that interesting? When we get older and we appreciate the things that we wanted to get away from.
Exactly.
Well, it's so funny. So which came first, working in a restaurant or culinary school?
So I came up in fast food.
Okay.
In Kentucky, I think you turn 15 and you can get your first job. So I started working at Sonic when I was 15.
Right on.
My brother got me a job, bread and onion rings and slinging burgers.
Yep. Mine was Steak and Shake in Atlanta, working the flat top grill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, for a 15-year-old kid who's getting maybe $300 every 2 weeks, I was like, I'm rolling in the dough.
Right.
So
Right.
it was fun.
So you like the excitement of a kitchen at that point, even at an early age?
Yeah, I like the fast pace of it.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
And then that led to culinary school?
Yeah, I was managing other like fast casual concepts, and I was between culinary school and doing computer science. And I was talking to my manager one day, and I was like, I'm thinking about going to culinary school. He was like, go ahead and do it, because I always wanted to,
Right.
and I never had the chance, so go ahead and do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know there's some debate sometime in our industry about School of Hard Knocks or culinary school. What's the thing you feel like you learned in school that maybe you wouldn't have gotten elsewhere?
The culture of the kitchen and restaurants, and looking back on who did it before me.
Okay.
The School of Hard Knocks, unless you're very interested in it, you're not going to learn about Escoffier. You're not going to learn about all these French chefs that did it before us. So
Right.
when I got the bill for culinary school, I was always like, nah, dude, school of hard knocks. Like, that's the way to go.
Right, right.
But nowadays, now that I'm older and I guess I'm a mentor to some people, I think there's value in culinary school for sure.
That word mentor, that's such an important word. We'll talk a little bit about that later. So you eventually ended up with Todd Richards in Atlanta.
Yep.
Talk about that experience. He's someone that's well beloved and well recognized in the South.
So I've known Todd since I was 14 years old. I was a freshman in high school and became friends with his son, and found out that his dad was a chef, and he was actually going to be on Iron Chef like that night.
Oh, wow.
So I tuned in, watched it, thought it was so amazing. So I've been following him for years, and the day that I graduated culinary school, I called him and I said, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm about to open up a concept," which was Pig and the Pearl.
Mm-hmm. At Atlantic Station.
Yep.
Yep.
And he said, "Come and work for me." 3 weeks later, I went to go visit, and then I think 2 weeks after that, I moved to Atlanta. Working under him and in that environment, coming from Louisville, so fast-paced,
Right.
such a bigger city. So I thought I was a good cook until I got kicked around a bit doing 500 covers a night.
Right.
And it humbled me for sure.
Those learning moments. I opened a restaurant called Canoe in Atlanta in '95, and the restaurant previous was doing about 2.5, 3 million, and we did like 6 million our first year, and I just got my ass handed to me. And but it's those are exciting moments, though. You know you're getting your ass kicked, but you're smiling.
Yeah, I wouldn't take it back for anything. Like, I got tough skin from it.
Right.
Nobody could scare me or intimidate me after that, because you can't put something up against me that's going to be harder than that. So.
Right. What do you think's the main thing that Todd taught you?
His composure in the kitchen. When you walk in the kitchen and you see Todd, if you've never seen him or heard about him before, you know he's a great chef. You know he's a mentor. He moves around the kitchen with grace. The way that he touches and handles food, it's with like a loving touch.
Right.
So that's the main thing I would say I learned from him.
And the decision to open North of Bourbon, that was before Ensō or after Ensō?
So North of Bourbon was a project that was getting worked on before I moved back to Louisville.
Okay.
I was working in Lexington under Weta Michael.
Okay. Sure.
And then I wanted to move to a bigger city. So I was texting people around. I thought I was going to go to New York, California, Houston. And I texted one of my buddies in Louisville, and he was the first person to text me back. It's a Creole Cajun concept, right up your alley. And then he sent me my business partner's number.
Oh, wow.
The next day I went down, checked out the space, and it was a deal.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Did you always know you were going to own your own restaurant, or was this a surprise, like a turn in the road that sort of surprised you?
It was always a goal of mine. I didn't think it was going to be this early. But during the interview, I kind of told him, like, this is the last place that I'm going to be an employee. I want to have partners and I want to build something. So either I could do it here or, however many years down the road when I learned what I needed to, I wanted to open up my own spot.
And how, I ask everybody this because I feel like it's always different for everyone. How was owning a business different than you thought it would be?
I mean, I don't even know where to start.
We got time, man. We got time. Go ahead.
So I guess when I did Locals Only, and there was a pop-up, I got a taste of what it could be because I noticed how much one napkin cost.
Right.
I know how much a plastic spoon cost.
Right.
But when it gets into business ownership, you don't understand how much it costs to pay a plumber to fix a sink. Or if you don't want to pay a plumber, you have to fix it yourself.
Right.
So I've become somewhat of a handyman myself and picked up some of those things, which I think is amazing. But I definitely feel more responsible for other people's well-being because I have probably 35 to 40 employees between the two restaurants. And if I'm not on my game, then it could mess up everybody else's livelihood, you know?
Right. What role do you think culture plays in ownership?
I think it's the number one thing. You have to create a space where people want to work for you. If you don't have motivation or find motivation on what each individual wants, it doesn't matter how much money you pay them. It doesn't matter how sweet the schedule is. They're not going to perform for you. So I think you have to create the culture that people want to be in.
That's well said. I know for me, we work really hard on our culture, but we've also seen sometimes we make a bad hire and we miss. And have you ever experienced that? And what do you do when you're like, wow, whether it's a leadership sous chef, manager?
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced that a bunch, and I would say I'm a very forgiving person. So I'm gonna give people time to see if they can figure it out. But if it gets to that point to where it's messing up everybody else, majority of the time, I don't even have to be the person that makes the decision. The team will push them out.
Right.
Or there's going to be a negative energy in the room and they're not going to want to be there.
Right.
So normally it happens naturally, but sometimes you got to step in and cut it short.
Right. You said something that was important. A friend that Scott Crawford in Raleigh, who owns restaurants, he called me right after he'd opened his first place, and it was like a Friday night, and he called me. It was 8:00, so I knew it wasn't good. And he was like, I don't know what to do. And I said, what's wrong? He said, it's 80 degrees in the dining room. I'm like, have you called an AC guy? Yeah, he wants $20,000 to fix it. I said, well, how much do you have in the bank? He said, I have 21 grand. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I don't think you have a choice. And that's the stuff as an employee, I never realized the business of owning a restaurant is way beyond food, service. That's just the front-facing stuff.
Yeah.
Would you do anything different now looking back?
As a business owner?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I think I might have put my hand on this or left my hands on the steering wheel a little bit longer.
Okay.
I wanted to give people some rope to like grow and develop, but I think maybe I could have been more a mentor between having two restaurants. I think I probably should have focused more on one each day or for each task instead of trying to hop between the two.
Right.
Because I felt like I couldn't get anything done. I'm not giving anybody the time of day that they need to train and have conversations and have FaceTime with me. So currently Ensō's closed due to a fire.
Okay. Sorry to hear that.
It's all good. Nobody was hurt.
Good.
Which is the big thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't major damage, but it's just, the back and forth was insurance and all of that. But since we've been closed almost 6 months, I got to step back, rethink everything. And now when we relaunch, I'm going to have time to focus my brain on each restaurant. I'm not going to think about the other restaurant today because I'm focused on this.
Right.
That would be the number one thing that I would change.
I gotcha. What was when you opened North of Bourbon and it worked? And I talked to a lot of other owners about imposter syndrome. Were you surprised that it worked, or were you always sort of like, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be and we're going to crush it?
I knew it would work.
Okay.
There was never a question because there's something in me that I think I have like a chip on my shoulder.
Okay.
Where I don't care who it is, what the problem is, I'm going to fix it, I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to do it.
Right.
I always say the train is on the tracks and it's not stopping. You can hop on, you can hop off whenever you want, but it's probably going to start speeding up. So,
Were there any culinary surprises for you? Meaning, like, were there things that sold really well that you were like, huh, I didn't see that coming? And were there dishes that you just absolutely loved that people didn't get?
I would say both of those happen more often than not.
Right.
The number one surprise was the last dish I put on the opening menu was our crab rice dressing. And it was kind of a play on one of the dishes that my mother would make for Christmas and Thanksgiving, which is like a spinach rice dressing. It's just like bacon, onion, garlic, rice, spinach. And that was my favorite side dish. So I just did it with crab fat, and a bunch of herb saint liquor in there for the anise note.
Yep.
With the basil cream on the bottom, and people have lost their minds.
Sounds really good.
Yeah, we haven't taken it off the menu. But then there's other dishes where I'm like, man, I'm doing my thing on this one, and it does not sell.
Did not sell. I always find those conversations interesting. I have to ask, so from Creole and French to Japanese, tell me about that inspiration or that transportation or...
Yeah, so my parents were military. So
Okay.
they're Navy, stationed in Okinawa right before I was born. So growing up, like everything in my house was from Japan.
Oh, wow.
My mom had a bunch of tea sets, all the bowls that we had, all the plates that we had, all the artwork on the wall is like the Japanese seasons. So
I'm jealous of that. I would have loved to have grown up like... I have such an obsession with Japanese culture that...
yeah,
That's really cool.
I'll have to send you some stuff. My mother gave me all of her extras.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah.
I'd love to send you some stuff.
Thank you. I mean, I'm obsessed with Jap. Even our culinary director, Masa Hamaya, who's from Tokyo, he's always like, for a white guy, you know a lot about, a lot about Japanese culture. And I'm like, I just love it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that led you to Ensō. Tell me about the menu at Ensō.
So at Ensō, it's hard to say, like I'm learning in front of people because I'm trying to cook Southern food, but with Japanese flavors and techniques. So I'm never going to serve sushi.
Right.
It's raw fish.
Right.
We do some ramen bowls. We do a lot of cold preparations. As far as like cold vegetables, pickled vegetables, things like that. But also I want to have like nostalgic points to where you're like, oh, I recognize what this is.
Right.
Like everybody has a fried chicken in their culture.
Sure.
So we just call it Japanese fried chicken. It's not karaage.
It's not karaage. I was going to ask. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we put it with like, we've done it with Jezebel sauce before. We've done it with like Alabama white.
Love Alabama white.
Mm-hmm.
I love that on barbecue. Everybody always looks at me. I'm like, man, it's good. You don't know what you're missing.
Especially with chicken or turkey.
Yes. There's a restaurant here called Home Team. They do these grilled wings with Alabama white sauce, and it is the bomb.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so good. So good.
So with the menu coming up, I've got some Atlanta influence in there.
Okay.
You ever heard of like lemon pepper wet?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up in Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
JR Crickets.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Southern boy to the bone. I love that. And so I have found that for a lot of folks, going from one restaurant to two, sometimes there's a struggle to find their worth. In other words, Jeremiah Bacon, who is one of our chefs, he had Oak, and then we opened the Macintosh. And it took him a year to kind of like, so when I walk in and everything's going well, where do I fit in, right? Mm-hmm. So how did you find the transition? I know you just spoke about it a minute ago a little bit, but how did you find the transition going from one to two?
It was rough.
Yeah.
Because the person that I've had the longest with me he came to the new concept.
Okay.
So I had to get somebody situated to be the CDC at the first concept. And I don't think that they necessarily knew how much work was going to be put on them.
Okay.
And it was a struggle to kind of maintain the two. So I was losing my mind, they were losing their minds,
right.
and it was stressful. So
I think a lot of people think it's just going to be, once you've done it once, it's just easy to do it again. And I think it's harder in a lot of ways. I mean, especially when it's your name and, people are sort of looking, well, where's Lawrence? Is he, he's at the other restaurant tonight,
yeah,
and it's hard to, I've found, build that consistency where it's about something more than one person, because you have to do that if you're going to grow, right?
right,
I mean, you have to.
right.
What's been the most rewarding thing about opening a second restaurant?
I get an outlet to think creatively, like differently, completely differently.
Right.
Sometimes I might get bored cooking Creole Cajun food, or I haven't found anything new in like an old French cookbook.
Right.
Because I love like old school French.
Me too.
Like what are things that aren't cool,
Right.
and I want to bring it back. So I might not find anything in 4 or 5 weeks, but I can find some new Japanese recipes.
Right.
So it keeps me on my toes. I don't get bored.
That's cool. Yeah, Japan's been doing a lot longer than we have.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this restaurant's 300 years old. Wait, what?
The funny thing is also Japanese food, as we know it today, isn't that old though.
Right.
Like the mid to late 1800s, they opened their borders
Right.
to trade. So,
Right.
like what they've done in that short period of time it's amazing.
Yeah. Love Japanese food. How do you think it's different being a chef today than when you first got started?
Whew. Oh man, I mean, my first chef, God love him, he was a firecracker, man. So I grew up watching like Bourdain and Emerald and all these people that were like put together. Bourdain was a little bit, he's smoking cigarettes and like the cool guy.
Right. He's like Marco White,
Yeah.
like those dudes.
But Emerald was like put together, cool dude, like composed. And then I meet my chef, and he's like a pirate. He's drinking all the time. He's throwing plates. And I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Right.
I want to be like unhinged a little bit.
Right. I think we all wanted to be that.
Yeah. And, yelling at people and degrading people. I guess that's never been my thing. When I was super young and I got a sous chef position way too early, like yelling at people, I was doing that.
Right.
And it wasn't productive. It's just what I saw before.
Right.
But nowadays, I don't have the energy to be yelling and screaming at people. Like,
Right.
I told you how to do this. Please, just get it right.
Right.
I think you have to be a lot more gentle with people. And then also, I think that as chefs, we have a bigger responsibility. It's not just cooking food. You're not just judged off the last plate that comes out of the kitchen. It's based off of like, are you respected as a person? Are your morals? I feel like we have to be community leaders, and we hold our communities together.
Yeah, we do.
It was a role that used to be taken by women. The men would go to work, women would cook dinner.
Right.
They'd be the nurse. They'd
Right.
be they would do all these roles. And now that society's different, I feel like chefs have taken on some of that. We have to nourish people. We have to create conversation around what's the best thing to do or the right thing to do.
Right.
Which I enjoy personally. I think that we do have a responsibility to be like the caretakers of society.
And would you say that's your favorite part about being where you are as a owner chef?
Yeah, definitely. If I had it my way, or I guess I should say if I could fast forward, because I'm confident in my team and everything,
Right.
I would spend more time doing community work. I would spend more time advocating with local government, because there's certain things that are being decided on that the decision maker, they have no idea.
Amen.
Lawyers don't know the food cost of America.
Right.
So why do you get to decide who gets SNAP benefits when I know 40 restaurants that are throwing away cases of potatoes because they overordered?
Right.
I'd like to get into that work eventually.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
We need you. Every I mean, I'm always surprised. Hospitality is the number 2 employer in America. Right? Think about that. Behind healthcare, we employ more people than anybody in America. And yet, I don't know if you feel this way. I feel like our voice is often really, really not heard when it comes to policy and how things change, how things that affect us directly, we have no seat at that table. Do you find that to be true?
100%. So my entire family's in healthcare.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Is it not odd that they don't teach enough nutrition to healthcare to where we are the people that provide preventative care?
Right.
Why are they not coming to you and being like, hey, what do you know about nutrition?
Right.
Can you create a program for a hospital, senior center? And that's all you need,
Right.
to make a change.
What's the most important? Well, let me ask this a different way. What's the thing you think is the biggest threat to the restaurant industry right now?
Ooh, the review culture. You all kill me. You all kill me. Like, you have no idea what it takes to keep the lights on. You have
Right.
no idea what these people are going through every day. You have no idea that the person grilling your steak has a back injury and they've been hurting for 15 years. Like,
Right.
sorry they messed up your steak. Say something at the restaurant. I'm sure they're going to fix it.
Right.
And just keep it pushing. If you have good things to say, absolutely. This place is amazing. Come back and try this. But there's like 8 platforms to leave reviews.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's constructive. I think it's only hurting the industry.
Yeah, I always, whenever I hear somebody, even like unrelated to my restaurants, but if somebody says, "Oh, I went there and didn't have a good time, I'll never go back," I always ask the first question, "Well, did you let them know?"
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I would never do that. So you wouldn't say anything, but you would never go back. And that's such an unfair. Yeah, I mean, when I opened my first restaurant, I used to read Yelp. I haven't read Yelp in a decade. I can't. It's bad for the soul, man. I mean, and I'm not picking on Yelp. It's just it's that environment where people are just trashing you for no reason. It's not helpful.
It's not. It's not. I think that we need to find a better way to go about that. If you had a bad experience, I think that should be a private message that you send to the restaurant.
Yeah.
If I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have the answer to that. But.
Yeah, but no, I hear you. I hear you. This feels like there's a better way.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found, because we try to respond to all negative reviews, 90% of the time when we reach out, they won't engage in a meaningful conversation.
Right.
They just wanted to pop off on social media, and that's it.
Right. And actually, let me make myself clear. I don't think that's the number one thing.
Right.
I think that's the number one. I don't know. It's annoying to me right now.
Understood. That's fair. Do you think it's harder to be a chef today than it was 10, 15 years ago?
No. It's so much easier.
How so?
The internet. When I first started, like, I couldn't get Alex Stupek's recipes for desserts. I had to, like, watch every single video or
Right.
like read a book or like go work for the person to figure out how they're doing this stuff. I can damn near find anybody's recipe online. It's easy to do that. And that's why I think there's a lot of people that are out there and they're like cooks and they call themselves chefs. But a chef is a title. It's not a hobby.
Right.
There's only two professions in this world where you get called by your title. It's chef and doctor. So you have to be a practitioner to be a chef.
I've never heard that before. I love that. That's beautiful. It's meaningful. How important do you think mentoring is for young cooks?
I think it's very important.
And what does mentoring look like to you?
To me, I mean, we all know that most people that get into this industry, it's not because they have Harvard degrees. They're not all Katie Buttons. They're not,
Right.
This might be the only path that some people can take.
Right.
So I think it takes patience from a mentor to maybe have somebody who's rough around the edges and build them up. I think it's important to have structure for them to where they don't, they can maybe fix some of the things that society might look at them. People might be tattooed and stuff,
Right.
And I think it's important for a mentor to be like, yo, if you're going to a job interview or something and you're at a country club and you have a bunch of tattoos, wear a long sleeve shirt.
Right.
Cover up.
Right.
Have a pressed chef coat. Don't have it all wrinkled up. Don't have a dirty apron and walk through the dining room. I think you need to teach some life things. Cooking should come as a part of learning life. I think the kitchen taught me a lot about life, or restaurant business
Right.
taught me about life. So
being a waiter taught me how to dress. Literally, taught me how to speak to people. Taught me how to interact with the doctor and the construction worker, and and meet them where they are. Basically, the restaurant business taught me everything I know. 35 years in. What's the most rewarding thing that you think about? What's the most rewarding thing to you about being a mentor?
Seeing people grow. When you see somebody and they're struggling and they have no idea that they can pull something out of them, out of themselves, and you push them, and then they're doing it without any effort, and then being like, remember when you couldn't do this, now you're doing this.
Right.
Seeing growth in people is the most rewarding thing for me.
I love that. I feel the same way. I say as one of our team members the other day said, what do you enjoy the most? And I said, seeing you love your job. And I mean it. We have a lot of restaurants, but there's nothing more rewarding than seeing that light bulb come on and like, oh wow, I'm good at this, or oh wow, this could be like a career. I feel like our industry for so long, it's been like, well, this is what I'm doing until I figure out what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I love when people, like, it's the happy accident. They're like, wow, I really like this. What do you think? Because you're the two cuisines you're doing are pretty far apart, or maybe you don't think so. But what do you think is the biggest difference in Japanese food and Creole?
Man, I would say that Southern food and Creole food comes from a place of making do. So Creole Cajun, it comes from a place of making do. It comes from people that are not from the region, that were taken or exiled to the region for one reason or another, and they had to make their food with what was offered by the land. So there's a lot of wild game. There's a reason why the Frenchmen weren't cooking with carrots, because you can't grow carrots in the bayou.
See, I didn't know. That's what I love. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
There's also like in Louisiana, it's so humid. That's why you don't see too many pickles.
Right.
You don't see too many fermented things. It's gonna go bad.
Right.
Um, and then I think Japanese food is more intentional about what's happening. They're more connected with the land. They're more. You add this for. Um, it's almost more medicinal how they cook.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's cool. So you're involved in SFA,
I am.
and I have been a staunch supporter for 13 years. What has that organization meant to you?
The preservation and discovery of the southern region. There's so many pockets and subcultures that are in the South that don't necessarily get represented or thought about on a daily basis.
Right.
And them telling their stories and highlighting these people, these families that have been around for generations is like the most important work that I think is getting done in America. California cuisine is cool to me. Like Midwestern Chicago food is cool, New York is cool. But why don't you all talk about the South?
Right.
Like, we really have a lot of stuff going on. We may not be as diverse as New York City,
Right.
but if you look in Louisiana, there's a big culture of Vietnamese,
Yes.
Chinese.
Yes.
Those subcultures need to get highlighted and need to get recognized as Southern. It's not just like patches; it's large populations.
Right. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being at a summer symposium in Louisiana, and I had no idea about the Vietnamese, the commercial fishing culture. I had no idea, and I've always said, growing up in Atlanta, I thought I knew what it was to be from the South. SFA has taught me what it really means to be from the South, and just I was so fascinated with. Because I remember seeing the food that was going to be served, banh mi's, and I was like, why are we serving Vietnamese food in Louisiana? And then I got there, and honestly, I felt stupid. I was like, good Lord. I had no idea in the Vietnam War how many Vietnamese had migrated, because the climates are very similar to New Orleans. And, yeah, that's a great way to articulate the SFA. I love the work they're doing. I was just at the Taste of the South last month. Going forward, what is your hope for the hospitality industry? What's your hope for our industry?
I hope that people stop giving it that label of like, you need to find a big boy job or a big girl job or a grown up job. Like, this is a viable industry. It's the number 2 industry in America.
Yep.
I've seen it for myself. If you hate clocking into work and sitting at a desk 5 days a week,
Right.
doing a 9 to 5, I guarantee you there's a restaurant out there that you can work the same amount of hours or less, serve tables, bartend, and make more money
Right.
with no college education.
That's right.
I see so many people in debt, and they're just trying to force themselves into their fields and industries, and it's like, well, come serve tables.
Yeah.
And just have a smile on your face. You're probably going to like it. You probably feel alienated sitting in a cubicle. So I hope people can get away from that. Like being a chef, I don't know. You would probably have to tell me, but the opportunities for travel and connection now, I feel like it's immense. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I've traveled more than I ever have.
Yes.
And
I've seen the world because of this business.
right.
Eaten all over the world because of this business.
Mm-hmm. Like, so many people want to travel.
Right.
And all you have to do is be the best person who sweeps the floors.
I know.
Like, clean the plates the best. Make sure your stuff is seasoned. And you can see the world.
I love that. I always say what I love about the restaurant business is it doesn't matter how you grew up. If you had money, didn't have money. I have an 8th grade education. I never really went to college. I went for a semester and drank my way out of that. But if you're willing to work hard and be a part of a team, there's a place for you in a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter who you are, where you came from, and I love that about our industry. I know about so much I would have never known. I know about people, cultures, religion, all kinds of things because of our industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what makes it so fun.
Yeah.
What does the word hospitality mean to you?
To me, it's treating somebody with no pretense, and you are just trying to care for them as best as you can. Treat every single person as if it's your grandmother eating, or your grandmother walking in your house. You're going to open the door.
Right.
You're going to pull the chair out, walk her to the bathroom. How are you doing? Can I do anything for you? Actually caring about the person
Right.
is hospitality to me. And I don't know, there's like a deep feeling of I don't like the question of what's your favorite thing to cook?
Right.
And my
Glad I
favorite
didn't ask you that.
Yeah.
Glad I didn't hit that one.
My favorite thing to cook is whatever makes the person happy. So
I love that.
yeah.
That's really powerful.
If you want a bowl of rice, I'll make the best bowl of rice.
Right.
If you want toast and butter, I'll make sure it's perfect. You want you want a little burnt? I got you.
Right.
But
I love that. It's like cooking without ego.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. How does your is your family proud of you for being an owner, being a
Yeah.
operator?
Yeah. I don't think they saw this being my life path at first. There was always signs.
Right.
Like, I would always watch cooking shows instead of cartoons. I was watching Bourdain when it came out.
Right.
Like,
Right.
So I was always interested in travel, food, and all that. But, when I got older, I was really into computers and building computers and stuff like that. So coming from a family who is, we live comfortable. I could have went to college. I could have done that. And I went from computer science and decided to switch to culinary. So
That's cool.
yeah.
Are you good at baking desserts? Are you good at baking?
I'm good at baking bread.
Well, that's a big. And the reason I asked is I feel like computer science is a pretty exact thing and different than savory cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Pastry chefs are always, this is the recipe. This is baking bread's no joke, though. I know bread has broken many a pastry chef. That's awesome. What kind of bread do you like to bake? Is that an okay question to ask? Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
So I started off with like yeast rolls, then milk bread.
I love milk bread.
Yeah, we make it at the restaurant, and then during COVID, I was getting into like fermented breads and stuff like that. I don't mess with the sourdough all too much because
Right.
I can't focus on a starter. They all
Right.
die.
That's honest.
Yeah, but if I can ferment it the night before, 2 days before, use it all, I'm good with that. So ciabatta, stuff like that, I enjoy.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
What's the thing you're most afraid of?
I don't know.
I love that. Most of the time, people are like,
Yeah, I guess the only thing I'm really afraid of is people not living up to their potential and then realizing it later.
Okay. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I like that. So you were recognized by the James Beard Foundation. How was that?
It was amazing. It's
a big deal.
It is. It changed the way that I thought. It was something that I've always wanted. So it almost felt like I was checking something off the box.
Right.
I didn't get finalists. I didn't win, but it made me feel validated that I was doing what I was supposed to do.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've been nominated. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. I've been nominated, but it's meaningful. And in all cases for me, when I think I've been nominated 4 or 5 times. I was surprised that day, and that was nice. Started getting texts about congratulations for what?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it was pretty special.
I actually had the flu. I woke up with the flu when they had announcements. Yeah.
So, will Lawrence ever do a third restaurant?
Maybe.
Okay.
I've got a lot of ideas, and I don't know how I would do it or where I would want to do it. If I'd want to do it in Louisville, if I'd want to do it in New Orleans, if I'd want to go somewhere else.
Right.
But I think it'll happen someday.
Couple more questions and I'll get you out of here. What does success look like for you now? And is that different than like day one of North of Bourbon?
Success for me now looks like more balance in my life.
Okay.
Taking care of myself better. And not hating what I do. Just being in love with what I do still. That's success for me. Because I feel like you have to go to a point, if you really love something and you really want to be the best, you have to go to like almost a dark place. And you have to like, this is all I care about.
Right.
And hammer it in. I feel like I've gotten to the point to where I can release the pressure valve a little bit.
Okay.
And, I want to take care of myself better and give my my other cooks and chefs an opportunity to shine a little bit more.
Awesome. Well, Lawrence, thanks for being on Say Grace today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming to Charleston, being a part of the festival, and safe travels home.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on Say Grace. If you like what you heard, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell anybody that'll listen. We're on all the platforms. This is Steve Palmer saying goodbye. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Say Grace, Food for Thought and Hospitality. We hope you join us next time as we continue to dive deeper into the inspirational stories about the transformative power of hospitality.